This episode is presented to you by NFL Sunday Ticket, now on YouTube and YouTube TV. With NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV, you can watch your favorite teams' out-of-market Sunday games, plus watch up to 4 games at once with Multiview. Don't miss the race to the playoffs. NFL Sunday Ticket is now just $39 when bundled with YouTube TV, where you get even more football. Visit youtube.com/Spotify offer to sign up now. Lowest price on YouTube TV with base plan. Rest of 2023 season. Terms and embargoes apply. No cancellations.
This episode is brought to you by Google Pixel, the official fan phone of the NBA and WNBA. The new Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro are built different. How? Take the Audio Magic Eraser tool that helps block out distracting crowd noise so your play-by-play commentary sounds crystal clear. The only phone engineered by Google brings out the audio you care about so your videos sound as crisp as they look. Learn more at googlestore.com/Pixel NBA. Audio Magic Eraser requires Google Photos app. May not work on all audio elements. Apple Gift Card is a practical gift that unlocks a world of entertainment and fun. You can send it via email or give a physical card to your loved ones. Your friends and family can spend it on their favorite Apple services, including Apple subscriptions. Apple Gift Card can be used to buy all things Apple: products, accessories, apps, games, movies, TV shows, iCloud Plus, and more. Visit apple.com for details and to send Apple Gift Cards to your friends and family this holiday season.
The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality, priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
I feel like in editing we might be taking out all the weird talk about who's writing the recap.
No, I will probably leave that. I think people like that kind of stuff.
All right, they can see a little behind the curtain.
Hear the sausage being made.
We need the... Oh my god.
My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin. Anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.
Kudos to some RSL fans last night after the game. I walked out and like, hey, how's it going? And they started talking to me like, oh man, you guys were so good. We so appreciate, we know you guys got screwed, but it just means everything to us just to even make the playoffs with everything that's going on. And I just felt sorry for them, man. They just quite honestly looked like really nice people that were just very pitiful.
Wow, that is a wonderful place to start. Yes, finding some pity on RSL, even though we've limped into the playoffs here with 3 straight losses. But yes, Thad found some happiness. That's what I keep you around for, buddy.
Hey. I think Thad just got disinvited from Benny Fieldhuber's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, no kidding.
That was
pitying us. Oh my.
RSL fans. No, they were not pitying us. I was pitying RSL fans.
So Thad, what color? What is the shade of blue this week after 3 straight losses? How are you feeling, buddy?
Bright and optimistic, happy, sporting blue. I don't know.
Wow. Okay, that's very good. I'm feeling pretty good today myself. How's the rest of the show feeling? Robert, where are you at?
Oh, I'm feeling fine.
You're feeling fine.
I'm feeling fine. It's a song, I think.
Okay, good take. Yeah, David, where are you at? How are you feeling? What shade of blue are you?
Firmly indigo. I don't know what that means. I just know it's one of our shades of blue. I feel like crap, to be real honest.
There we go. That's what I was looking for.
The team has looked real bad, and the handball. I mean, I don't think it's any secret how I feel about our league's officials, whether it's missing Tim Millia's body slam or Amadou Diaz, attempt to murder Bebo Reynoso, or like the most obvious handball since Maradona. The consistent inability to get the calls right is, I think, one of the really big things holding this league back. The inability to police the game on a regular basis and missing just basic stuff like this. And it's really disappointing because it cost us first place.
It just doesn't make sense to me that we're still having the same conversation. Like we had this conversation a year ago, 2 years ago of how can we all be looking at this screen and they still get the call wrong? That was 2 years ago. We've advanced. Why is VAR seemingly not getting any better? How does this happen?
Cody putting on his Peter Vermes hat. He sounded a lot like him there.
Yes, we'll get to the Peter Vermes rant for sure.
Were you reading that?
No, I was not. But my favorite part of that was I was looking for it. I heard about it, and I go on the Sporting KC website for the quotes from the press conference that they always put out, and it just says Sporting KC City manager Peter Vermes opening comments, and then just an absolutely massive wall of text. Just a wall, just a novel. They typed a novel. Peter Vermes ranted an entire novel about it.
And hats off to Sporting PR, because it was a lot of things to put in there. And as far as I can tell, they did not delete anything. They did not edit it out. They made it clean. Not that he cursed, but just made it into actual sentences. So kudos to them for doing all of that.
Yeah, Vermes knows what he wants to say. He said what he meant, and he is gonna probably stand by most of it. Maybe, like you said, maybe a couple of the curse words he would not want to have on official documentation. But yeah, he was angry, and rightfully so. That was the difference between a bye and third place. And I know we can argue about the goal that came later, but obviously, the flow of the game would have been very different. And yes, they did concede that goal, but oh my gosh, I don't think that can take away any of the frustration. The game would have been theirs, in their hand, and so would have first place and a bye.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my question. I have plenty of questions, but here's one of them. Who would have taken the PK?
That's a good question. It's a fun question. Yep. Good job.
DS20.
Yeah, it would have been Daniel, right? Yeah.
I would have picked Ilya myself. Yeah.
I would as well, but I feel like Daniel would have not let anyone else take it.
But that would have ruined it, man. He didn't take any all year.
Yeah, I don't know the way his finishing was. He wasn't certainly as sharp as he's been. He was on a streak the last couple of games. So I don't know if he would have grabbed the ball, to be honest with you.
No, it's a valid question, because he had a chance earlier in the game that Daniel Shalvey of a month ago would have buried it without thinking about it. And it looked like a kind of a passive shot because he had, lost the flow after being out for a couple of weeks.
I would say 2 chances that was like that. He had 2 of them that could have went in.
Yeah. And 1 in Austin as well.
So I want to make sure we cover PV's rant well enough. What was everyone's favorite part of it? What's the parts we can't miss here, just in case anyone didn't get to it? What was what's like a specific point that stood out to somebody? I guess you're saying I surmised it pretty quickly as I introduced it.
I liked the general theme that it's a conspiracy theory against us, the small market of Kansas City. So it's tough to pick out one particular gem as far as I'm concerned. I gotta say I'm a little disappointed, and I probably will defend PV more than most, but I think he undermines the overall point, which is that our referee organization is garbage, when he then turns it into a conspiracy theory, especially because we did get the benefit against Seattle and Minnesota with retroactive reds, but Melia getting to play out the end of the Seattle game certainly gave us an advantage. Yeah. So I didn't love the conspiracy theory, but I do like that our podcast has now touched on a few conspiracy theories since we talked Kennedy assassination a couple of weeks ago. I guess
finding our niche.
I think we're slowly morphing away from sporting and into conspiracy theories in Botswana, and I'm here for it.
You guys this is why I started a podcast, was to talk about ridiculous things like this. No, so my favorite part of the rant is just how he ends it, where he just keeps repeating, just go look at the video. He says it like 5 times in the last couple of pairs. It's just because that's it. That's the bottom line right there. I don't understand how you can mess that up. No person on the planet can look at that video and mess that up, except for the one guy or gal on the planet that did look at it.
Two. There's two VARs. There's an assistant VAR. So there's two of them.
VAR and an AVR. An AVAR.
Yes.
So there are two human beings that looked at that and said, nah, play on.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean the audacity, the thought that in a game of this magnitude, that your one opinion is the only one that should matter, you and your assistant or whatever. You shouldn't have somebody else look at it. That to me is that's vain and wrong.
Yeah, and also on the rant, you could see him warming up to it when he was talking to Allie on the sideline after the game. He hadn't quite seen the video yet, but he knew, I think he could hear everyone's conversation. He knew something was up, and he was keeping it together a little bit. You could see he was angry. He was ramping up a little bit. And then, yeah, by the time he got in front of that podium and had seen it and heard the guys get all pissed off about it, yeah, it was off and running after that.
Well, I think Vermes' the strongest point was about how just a large impact this has. I mean, the Galaxy, because of this, they are out of the playoffs, etc. I mean, yeah, sure, they didn't grab the playoff mantle like Sporting didn't either, like they should have, but still it impacts. It's a wide range of people that are impacted here.
This just the series of events, it's all just so insane. The fact that RSL scored, that just adds an extra level of, I don't even know the right word for it. It just adds to the intrigue of the moment that they scored, and it just impacted the other side of the table. And man, I just honestly can't believe, like I said, we've been talking about issues with VAR for so long, and the fact that they could still make a mistake like this, I don't get it. Like Vermes said, look at the video.
Right. So I got 2 points on the VAR. One is because it's decision day, and I hate that term because every game is supposed to matter exactly the same, especially according to all the assholes that said you shouldn't have lost all those other games. But anyway, that meant because all those teams, every team played on that day, that meant that essentially every ref under the sun that was available, and then because there's also a bunch of college games and stuff going on at that same time, all of them had to be in play. So, but I had somebody look at the VAR and the AVAR, both had at least 50 games under their belt. So it wasn't like they were brand new professional referees or anything. But that is probably why we had some issues, is because there was not necessarily their first choice assistants out there or VARs out there.
Experience, but not necessarily good experience. They could have messed up in every single one of those games.
Yeah, and we've heard rumors that they may have been disciplined in some way that reduces their amount of pay in the future. Don't know if any of that is true.
Right.
Yeah, that would be good to hear. And you would think that wouldn't be something that the league would want to quiet. They would want to, want to let people know someone is being held accountable for an obvious mistake.
Yeah, you run into issues with legal stuff about employment, and I don't, sure. I know that that's always an issue with certain things. But a question to throw out there is, some leagues and some tournaments have basically had a centralized VAR. Would that be a better thing? So you have people who have consistent VAR experience. You still need more than one because you have, 10 games going on at the same time or whatever, but maybe you have people who that is just their job, and they can have a consistent feedback and process, and it's a consistency, not a Was that not the original idea? Wasn't the VAR headquarters in New York, and that every game was being looked at in New York? Or am I confusing football? Was that football?
Baseball.
I know NFL does that, right? But I mean, certain leagues and certain tournaments around the world have done that. So,
well, I don't want to give NFL too much credit, but something they've done, and it's just in the last few weeks or so, is they've cut out some of the nonsense with the reviews. There's just someone that's looking, like whenever. So now whenever we're all watching the replay, there's an official that's also watching it. And so instead of this whole charade of a 5-minute review, there's just a person that's like, no, that wasn't, he caught it in bounds or whatever. And they just move on. And that is helped leaps and bounds there. And it just seems like there are some common sense things you can Well, I don't even know. How can you, what is there even to solve in this situation unless, like we're saying, you can discipline someone? Because there's nothing else you can fix. If someone doesn't see that handball, the hands wiggle and, all of that, like if someone doesn't see it, they don't see it. There's no systemic problem you can fix in there. Just hire better referees in MLS.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to note, though, that the head VAR for this game, and I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because I don't want to put money in the fine jar.
Yeah, go ahead.
A fourth official since
Robert doesn't do it.
2017, hasn't been an AR since 2017. He's got experience, but it's all old. And I may or may not have Googled this person, and his LinkedIn comes up, and he has like a full-time other job.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a full-time official. And so,
well, a lot of those officials are not. A lot of those officials have other jobs because they're only refereeing at certain times of, So there are a lot of them. In some defense, you have a good point, but in some defense, a lot of them do have other jobs. Continue.
Well, is that part of the problem that we can't pay them enough? That's not the case with Premier League refs, right? Those are just referees. That's their job. That's what they live in.
I wouldn't doubt that some of them have other jobs also.
Well, that is shocking.
I think that's true in most leagues. Who was the NFL official who was super jacked? Ed Hockley. He was a lawyer in the offseason. But I think the pay was better, in some of these other leagues for sure. But, maybe the solution is to have, everything centralized in New York. And there's a manager for VAR. He puts out YouTube videos, to celebrate all the times VAR got it right. And never all the times they got it wrong. But, somebody needs to be watching this. It's inexcusable how many, just in Sporting KC's, 3 of our last 5 games alone, that there's been a clear issue and it just goes missed. It's the whole point of having VAR, because if we're going to get it wrong, let's just go back to the way it was before, where we weren't having massive stoppages and just let them run around. Let's go back to 2016 when Seattle can beat us in the playoffs in an offside goal, and then we can all be upset, but at least there won't be a VAR to blame. If we're not going to use it right, why bother?
Man, we worked in an Ed Hockley reference. Unnecessarily buff Ed Hockley. Maybe is that what MLS is missing? Just absurdly large referees.
I think they have Ismail Elfath. He's pretty.
Yeah, Elfath is a big dude.
MLS's website only has part of the playoff schedule out,
which Sporting actually just sent it out.
Bummer. I had a great concern that the league was going to go full USL championship, award us the penalty, go back in time, and that we'd get a cool tweet that LAFC's or LA Galaxy are in the playoffs now.
Especially breaking right on the podcast. That would have been perfect. And for anybody who doesn't know, I think we actually might have mentioned it in one of our previous pods, but 2 teams in USL were playing. There was a restart, passed it back to somebody who then passed it back to their keeper who missed it, and it went in the goal. Off a restart, you can't score in your own goal. So the referees initially called it a goal, which is the right call. They then decided that you can't score off of a restart, and they put the ball at the corner spot, which then everything went awry, and it totally changed the whole playoff picture. So they went back and had the teams start with the guys that one team had essentially scored the goal and start from that point. But that puts so much weirdness into everything. What if you have a player that's been hurt since then and can't play that next game? Or in that game, you were playing your second string guy because your first string guy was hurt, who's now healthy. How do you do that? And do you put 20,000 people back in the stands to root for that last 5 minutes of the game?
Yeah, I expected nothing like that here. I've accepted that it's just one of those things that happens, and because of all the reasons you just said, there's no way, we can get it back. But it would be good to hear there was some accountability. So, okay, how about this? We're going to get all the negativity and all the sadness and self-loathing about referees out of the way in this first segment. So do we have any final takes here? Who wants to, any last rants? Anyone want to be sad, and we can all just have a safe space?
I actually do not want to rant on the refs. I want to say, as much as we could criticize them, they do mostly a good job. And the more we complain about refs, the less refs there are. Right now, youth soccer, high school soccer, college soccer is struggling to have refs right now. So as much as we complain about refs, go be a ref.
No, we got boned, man.
This episode is brought to you by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Some things are just better together, like party playlists and Friday nights, campfires and ghost stories, peanut butter and chocolate. And Reese's Cups are the perfect combination of creamy peanut butter and delicious milk chocolate. So, when you want something sweet, you can't do better than Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Buy Reese's today wherever candy is sold.
All right, so let's jump into no more self-loathing. Let's take some accountability here. We can actually talk about this loss and then how they lost 3 straight to end the season here. So, David, you have a point to talk about here. Something you wrote down was about Barber's play. And I'm glad you did, because when I immediately, not even long into the match, I just had a sinking feeling that was just like, man, Barber is just not it.
I mean, that's my take also. I like him better than I like Connor Hallisey, but that's a pretty
oh man, if we're comparing him to Connor Hallisey, like, it's already over. Things are not going well.
Yeah,
Connor takes a lot of grief on this podcast.
People are real mad that Amelia body slammed Roldan, but I think we should all be mad that we could have had Roldan on our team to be body slammed by somebody else, but instead picked Connor Hallisey, Saad Abdul Salam, and Amadou Dia. But no, so
wait, hold on, whoa. All 3 of them were picked over him, or in the same draft?
I think Dia was picked after Roldan, but the other 2 were picked before Roldan.
Oh no, I do remember. I remember we've cited the Connor Hallisey draft as a mistake before too. I don't remember that about Roldan though.
Those were dark times. People have been clamoring a lot for Barber to play. I have not seen it this year from Barber. He runs real hard. He's wearing his dad's shirt, not unlike Wondolowski. But if you look at kind of the advanced stats on the game for him, it showed that he basically just ran around a bit. While, he wasn't making a lot of progressive passes, he wasn't carrying the ball forward. And then when you look at, how well he pressed, he attempted 13 pressures and he was successful on 5, which was the lowest of our starting line. Wasn't particularly active in the defense. He had, I think, 1 tackle, no interceptions. And so he got out there and ran around, but I don't think he's got the end product. I don't see the flashes that maybe other people see. And I'd be curious what your guys' thoughts are. But I think
I love that take. I absolutely love that take. He got out there and ran around. That's solid analysis. That's how I would describe it too. He got out there and ran around. Not necessarily very fast either, but he was out there. He ran around.
It was kind of like 2 out of 3 forwards.
Ooh,
yeah.
That you just
Not
wanted to
lying,
drop
right?
that. You no follow up. You just wanted to drop that and then just fade away.
Just wanted to see if anybody commented.
Well, do you have a comment? Is there someone you want to call out? Is there someone you want to talk to?
Safe space, Thad. Safe space.
Oh, I'm never worried about that, man.
There's zero chance he could be talking about Khiry Shelton, right?
I thought he was talking about Shallow.
Shallowy had shots.
Kyrie took one early,
Yeah.
and then he made that opportunity through his pressure for Shallowy later. That was good.
Yeah. No, and I'm actually usually a Kyrie supporter, but I just don't feel like he's not been what we've needed when Polito's out this year.
Right. Well, this show is generally very Kyrie positive. And
yeah.
And that is a good point, because I think in the last few games, we've been fine to acknowledge he hasn't played as good as he has in the past. And that is probably part of the issue. Yeah, we've needed someone to step up there when Polito hasn't been there. And Kyrie's kind of had a bit of magic, for better or for worse. So, whether it's not what you want him to be doing, there's definitely been a bit of magic that the team wins when he's on the field. And it seems that has maybe faded away here, at least in this stretch run.
And I would also like to go back and defend Connor Hallisey for just a second. And I do this every time he gets lambasted too bad. He was never supposed to be starting that year. We were supposed to have Brad Davis and that other guy who never played, but like 27. Yes, yep. He played like 27 minutes or some shit. They were supposed to be alternating out there, and he ended up having to. And I think there was somebody else even that got hurt. But he ended up having to play out there way more than he was supposed to for a rookie out of college. He was supposed to be playing down at Swope Park and seeing how he developed. And once he got the yips, man, he never got any confidence back. I could see him in practice making goals and doing these things, and then once he got on the field, he wouldn't even take the shot anymore. So I think it was just a confidence thing. He was put into a spot where he couldn't succeed because he was just didn't have the experience, and then he was never able to get it back. So hopefully that's not the case.
Confidence for sure. Hallisey always had that look in his eye, or a lack thereof, perhaps. The wrong look in his eye. You could just tell it wasn't there. He didn't have the fire to do it.
But I think it was originally there. It just that once he had some problems, and I don't know, he read criticism, or he just got in his own head or what, but he just never was able to get that confidence back.
Okay.
But he could look okay in practice.
Yes, I feel like that's enough Connor Hallisey today. Yes, Connor, we don't hate you. I'm sorry we pick on you.
I defend him all the time.
I'm sure he listens.
Yeah. So moving on. Enough Connor Hallisey. Thad, did you have any? You wanted to jump back there to Connor Hallisey. Did you have anything else on that for us?
About Connor?
No. Any other thing? Anything else on the RSL loss? Gameplay, not complaining about referees.
Are you just talking to Thad, or are you talking to all of us?
I was talking to Thad.
I think he's got me targeted. That's okay. That's okay. Again, I usually defend the team at least to a certain extent, but they should have been able to roll over RSL yesterday with even one person standing out, and nobody really stood out.
And I think it started right from the start. David, I feel like the team did not come out of the gates as well as we needed to in such a big match.
No, I don't think they did either. We had a couple shots early. Khiry had, I think, 2 in the first 5 minutes. And then, things kind of settled in.
I guess that's true. We're literally right off the bat, they did. And then it seemed like that woke up RSL.
But I think one of the issues we had, and, I think all of our issues come back to this concept of depth and the lack of meaningful depth that we have. But without Kinda, without Pulido, without Johnny, there's a lack of creativity on the team. And I actually think it was a mistake to set up Walter as the deepest of the midfield 3. I'd say that this year he's probably shown the most creativity of, between him, Roger, Ilya, and Maury. He's probably the best replacement for Gotti if Gotti's not on the field. And we put out 3 8s/6s. And so, there was nobody in the midfield to pull strings. There was nobody to give service to Khiry, and Khiry can't create on his own. It was just flat. It didn't look like they cared to win.
Well, to that point, isn't that a huge problem if Jose Mari is not that guy, not the proper fill-in there behind Gotti Kinda?
He's not. He never was supposed to. I don't think he should never be considered to be the proper person behind Kinda.
So then who is that person? You were on the Remy Voltaire
Busio
as well?
Busio.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. Busio's gone.
I know. There was actually one player that played last night with a little bit of spark. And he had 5 minutes or whatever. I forget when he subbed in.
Cameron Duke.
Ding.
All right. So, in this mode we're talking about here, I know it's a little bit of a crazy idea, and it's sad that we had to go to this part. At least is where my brain went. But here's what I was thinking about the 70th minute, maybe a little before. If anybody's going to score out here, Graham Zusi is a candidate in my mind at this point, sadly. So my idea was, let's go back 3. Let's put Zusi on the right wing so we can cut in with his right foot. Slide Shallowy to center forward. Slide Shelton out to the right wing. I mean, that was my thought. That's how bad it got.
It's not a bad thought. Have we had that Graham Zusi stunner yet this season? He's always good for about 1 a year, right?
I mean, if I thought that Vermes was ever willing to deviate tactically, that's a good idea, right? Because Zusi, I mean, he's probably not the guy to play right wing for a full year.
No.
But the ability to push him up because he is more creative, or even to push him into the midfield, you know?
Yeah, right.
Play him as one of the dueling eights. And at least
that was my other idea, yeah.
At least have somebody with an idea. But then who plays in the back? Who would you have subbed on the back line?
I would have gone with 3 in the back. I think Issy could have held down the right side well enough with Fontes in the middle and Martins on the left. We might have lost something as far as circulation of the ball to width a little bit, but at that
for
point,
how long are you talking? Are we talking the last 12 minutes of the game? Because I'm
talking the last 20 at least. But the other thing is remember, a tie, a loss, it didn't matter as far as standings went. Either one, we had to get the win.
Well, and I think that is also another concerning point from the game is that, certainly the team and the coaching staff has to know the game state around the league, right? They had to know that Seattle was level, Colorado was winning, and that we needed to win, and that a tie or a draw or a loss was meaningless. It didn't affect anything. And it didn't seem like we were really pushing forward, that we didn't have any sort of real urgency to get forward and to just, really press the attack. And I don't know what the downside would have been. You leave yourself open at the back, but a loss doesn't hurt you any differently than a draw does.
Yeah.
We didn't seem to go for it.
Oddly enough, RSL didn't really seem to be pushing it until the very end either. And they're the ones who absolutely needed to win to even make the playoffs. And I would just wonder if it was kind of a waiting game to see which one pushed forward first in order to counter the other.
I mean, I don't know if I totally agree that we weren't pushing forward enough. I just don't know if we had the creativity to do it. That's the difference. But I mean, Duke had a chance right when he came on. We had a couple of chances late. We just didn't put them away.
Charlie had a couple chances.
Yeah.
I mean, they were building up. It wasn't like there was a lot of it wasn't a ton of urgency. They were pushing forward, but there wasn't a sense of urgency. How about that?
I mean, we only had 3 shots in the last 15 minutes plus stoppage time. Martinez had a shot blocked. Duke had a shot that was off target, and Shallowy had what is described as a wayward shot by people at Football Ref.
So what did you guys think of that Zusi free kick that touched nobody? Nobody got near it. Just dropped to the turf.
I'm used to us not doing anything on our free kicks and set pieces. So.
Yeah.
But that went through 4 people.
Yeah.
2 and 2.
So, gentlemen, here we are again. At the end of the season, Sporting KC did very well. And now they have limped into the postseason. Am I wrong about this? Is it a self-fulfilling prophecy that we have as Sporting Kansas City fans that it just seems like they do well and then limp into the playoffs? Or, like, if we look back, will we find this pattern of the last several years that they've limped into the playoffs? Last year might have been the exception, but I know that is the general rule of thumb, or the thought of Peter Vermes running his players into the ground, and then they limp into the playoffs and don't have enough juice left to finish out the season and all of that. So where are we at? What happened here? Is that was the overall thing? Khiry started. That's the best thing that we've said so far, is that Kyrie's magic is gone. What else has changed? Daniel got hurt, I guess, but then he came back for this.
But he's not back.
True that.
So, the only one that's been carrying Sporting over the last 10 games is Johnny. He's been scoring. Daniel's been all right for some of that, been hurt for some of that. We've been missing Polito. Kenda has had flashes here and there of being good and flashes of not, and then being hurt. It's concerning in that regard. If Polito's not going to step on the field and start sliding balls through traffic for goals, I don't know that they go deeper than past Vancouver.
Can this team, as it is, without Polito and without Shallowy scoring a goal every game, can they beat Vancouver?
Absolutely.
I think they can.
In Kansas City, yes.
Yeah.
The conversation is, how many pieces are we going to be missing? And can we win without Polito? Absolutely. If Johnny's healthy, or even, 85%, if Shallowy's 85%, if Keenda's available, we have plenty of pieces to beat Vancouver without Polito. If we are missing Gotti, if Johnny's not right, the task is a lot tougher. But, I think you asked the question at the beginning of the conversation, which is, are we limping into the playoffs? And, there's this narrative that we always limp into the playoffs, that we peak too early, and that, Vermes' teams get run into the ground. But, I think there's almost two eras of the team to look at. There's the 13 to 17 era, where we were limping into the playoffs every year, and we were getting 4 seeds and 5 seeds and getting knocked out really quick. But then, in 2018, we won the West.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we ended up getting bounced in the conference finals by Portland. And to finish that season out, it was draw, win, win, win. And then we all know 2019 didn't exist. 2020, we finished the season with draw, win, win, draw, win.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think we can use 2020 as an example, though, because there was games in there they didn't play because of teams testing positive and games postponed, and that one if for the people who will say that Vermes drives his players into the ground, 2020 can't be really example because it was such a off year and breaks and things like that. So
right,
I'm not making that case. I'm just trying to be honest for both arguments.
And do any of you think that is the issue now? Are the players tired? Is that part of this?
Well, when you have that many players listed as questionable, lower body injury coming into the last game, I think so. Yeah. I mean, they're human, right? I mean, what was the count? How many games in the last 16 days or more?
Mm-hmm.
5, 6. I mean, they're human. And I think the concept was this, and it's a solid concept. With 3 games left, we had our destiny in our own hands. We needed 7 points max, assuming that Seattle won both their games, etc. So what did Vermes do? First game in that the game in hand, he put his starters out there. Let's get those 3 points now.
Yeah.
Okay. Next game. Oh, well, we need to get the 3 points now. Let's not wait until that last game. So you can understand him doing that. And the impact it had, well, there you go.
So you're feeling that his position was pushed a little bit, that he was almost forced into doing that.
Well, if it was you, wouldn't you do the same thing? Would you wait until the last home game, the season to try and win the conference, or would you try to go for it right away, hope it works out well, and then get your players rest?
Well, considering that all 3 of those games should have been winnable, at Minnesota, at Austin, and then the really Salt Lake people here, yes, they should have all been winnable. It is still a question. Like, again, I know that they have professional sports scientists that know all of this stuff way better than we do, but it always does feel like maybe they should have rested a couple of those guys and went with a couple other people at some point, or subbed in earlier when the game wasn't. But he's always going to go for that win. That's a strength and a flaw.
Right. Well, the other thing is too, I mean, even if Polito comes back in the playoffs, guys, first game back, not playing in a while, he's not going to be sharp. Granted, he'll probably be an improvement over Shelton as far as certain aspects of the game go, but he's not going to be that sharp probably.
And he probably won't be able to play that long.
He's got 2 weeks.
But
he
will he be sharp? Though?
thinks so much tactically, even if he's not sharp.
Yeah.
Dragging guys out of position. Every time he drops deep into the midfield to collect the ball, you know, he's more of a threat than anybody else is. And I think he opens up space for Johnny and for Daniel.
I agree, but even the last couple of games he did play when he was coming off an injury or whatever it was, he wasn't that sharp, and he only played 15, 20 minutes here there. So
Yeah, like
Hey,
15 and then 30.
This is what we get an expensive Mexican striker for, right? He doesn't need the perfect environment. He's a skilled player. He's worth $10 million, and he can come in a little rusty and bang in a goal, right? Isn't that what we got this guy for?
well, I think the whole thing that encompasses this all, and I'm going to use a Ted Lasso reference. Of course, they stole it from somebody else, but it's the hope that kills us, guys. We get our hopes up, and then it comes crashing down, and we're just pissed off and disappointed.
Yeah, and with all the negativity around how the season ended and things that could have been better, should have been better, whatever, they finished third in the West, fourth in the overall table. It was a good season. There's lots of entertainment to be had.
Yeah, if we could step away from the entitled sporting fans that we all are as this fan of a winning team, can you just imagine at the beginning of the season if someone told you that Sporting KC would have 30 minutes to score one goal to win the Western Conference in the final game? You would be like, hell yeah, that sounds like a good season. I will take that.
First or third?
First or third.
Colorado, are you kidding me?
Yeah, no
Colorado.
kidding, man.
Congrats to Colorado, man.
I tried to speak it into existence last week in the podcast. Keep underestimating them. Oh, they can never do it. I thought if I said it into the world, it wouldn't happen. And they still did it. Snuck in at the very end. And I never once believed in them.
I still don't. I think if Chalk wins out and we play Seattle in the 2-3 matchup, that's the Western Conference final. I just don't think the Rapids have a match winner. I don't think a single guy on their team can go out and win you a game. I don't believe it.
I still think there's a score correction coming and that they didn't actually get first place.
They scored 5 goals. It's got to be a fix.
Either side don't seem so tough, and 3 own goals ain't all that rough. Our skipper has just been sent off. Supporters strong have all gone soft. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in.